Let's have a brutally honest conversation with ourselves right now. Brutal honesty. We all have the challenge of being the leader that we would want to follow. And in order to do that, there is a term that we have to become more aware of, and that is self-awareness. There is a great struggle in our society for people to be self-aware. 50 million Americans 2 years ago were diagnosed with clinical depression. There's a lot of delusion and depression because of the vast information that we consume day in and day out. What happens is when you consume information at the rate that we consume information at, and you have it readily available as soon as you open up your phone and you hit the magic genie button, Google, you can get any information anytime. Hey, you don't even have to do that anymore. You just say, hey, Siri. Hey, Alexa. Hey, something else. Hey, June. And you just say what you want to know, and you get information back. Instant hit of dopamine. You haven't had to work for it. There's no experience behind it. You have a lot of information. But what they found is impression without expression is the beginning of depression and the start of delusion. So I like to use this little term in coaching. I like to say, let's have a brutally honest conversation with ourselves right now. Brutal honesty. Not nasty, not judgmental, just brutal honesty. Let's become more self-aware. And the fact is, many people, when they evaluate themselves, give themselves a lot more credit than they deserve. Because we're afraid of pain. We tend to run from it. So when getting information or consuming information about our own leadership, it hurts sometimes. And I'll tell you why. It's because most leaders do not live with a selfless mindset. It's not that they don't want to. They haven't, unfortunately, dealt with a lot of the pains in their life so that when they're confronted with that pain in a leadership environment, it causes them to retract and put up walls. This is why self-awareness is so important, to constantly be great leaders. Listen to this. Great leaders are extremely self-aware and extremely selfless at the same time. They don't see themselves as that hero leader, the great man theory. They see themselves as somebody who is here to ensure that their team members are put in the best position to succeed, and they will do whatever they can to help those people in their stead succeed. So, to become more self-aware, here's some of the things I want to cover today. I want to cover ikigai, which on your table, we're going very Japanese today. So again, let's be clear about some things. Leadership is based upon a word influence, which I would like to go to another word that I think is better than influence, is based upon inspiration, inspiring others. Inspiration is the next level of influence. Is it better to influence or inspire? It's better to inspire people, to influence them to get the most out of life, as long as you're extremely self-aware and selfless at the same time. Inspiration is much better if you have a selfless mindset. Let me give you some statistics real quick on leadership and inspiration. So there was a group, Zenger Folkman. They are leadership research statisticians. How do you get that job? It's pretty cool. but they study for Gallup and other organizations, they study specifically leadership. And they give as much data on leadership as possible. Here's what they found as far as what it means, how many inspiring leaders are out there. They said, first of all, that less than 10% of leaders are what's called inspiring leaders. And so they take the juxtaposition in this study of uninspiring leaders. And here's what they came down to. They said, here's the impact of uninspiring leaders. You guys ready? Ready for this? The overall effectiveness of an uninspiring leader is 9%. 9%. The percentage of people who are highly engaged under an uninspiring leader. Has anyone ever worked for an uninspiring leader before? I've had many, okay? They said the average engagement for people working for that person is 2.8%, as opposed to an average engagement score in organizations of 12.3%. Okay, so it's 10% less than the average engagement. Average engagement of direct reports who think about quitting every single day, 47%. Probability of being rated in the bottom 10% of productivity, 93%. Inspiration is important. Now, I and many of you have talked to people who say, well, I'm not a cheerleader. Well, I'm just not going to be that raw leader. I'm not the guy that's going to stand up and pat people on the back and do the Jason Garrett hand clap. I'm not the guy who's going to come in and motivate people. And my answer to that is always, okay, you don't have to be. But please, don't lead people. Find a way to be in a position where you can just do work. Because if you are going to be a leader and you're going to work with people, I'm not saying you have to be a motivational speaker. What I'm saying is you have to find your way of inspiring others, which is stemmed from passion. So that's where I want to get down to Ikigai today for you to find out where your through line is with Ikigai so you can be inspiring to other people. Not everybody inspires the same way. There's no cookie cutter leader out there, but you darn better well, if you want to get the most out of your teams, become inspiring. And the reason we don't, most of the time, is because leaders, by and large, are unaware of themselves. To be self-aware, to know your gifts, to know your talents and abilities is the start. Next is you've got to accept the greatness of who you are, which is really hard for people because of self-judgment and shame and guilt and fear and doubt and worry and pain. All that stuff comes with the territory, which is why people don't like to even get into self-awareness. Marianne Williamson once said, "It is our light, not our darkness, that frightens us the most." It's our light, not our darkness. Why? Because then you're confronted with the fact that you could be great. You could be amazing. But you're going to have to go through pain to get there. So, last thing, I want to do some transformations and a call to action. Let's start with Ikigai. What I'd like you all to do is I'd like you to peruse this at your table, discuss this. I want you to write down your answers to these 4 questions. What do you love? What do you love? It doesn't have to be anything to do with your vocation. Now, I really hope it has something to do with your vocation. I really, really do. But it may not, and that's okay. Write down what you love. Next is, what are you good at? Please, I don't want false humility here today. Please, don't do it on my account. Don't. I want to hear about how awesome you are. I want you to tell people how awesome you are and what you're awesome in. Please do not, at my expense, give me false humility. Next, what the world needs. What does the world need? in general. Right now we need a cure to the coronavirus. Maybe somebody has it in here. I don't know. I hope you do. But what does the world need based upon what you're doing? And then finally, what can you be paid for? What can you be paid for? Write those down. And then what I want you to do is discuss how you can, with those 4 things, come into alignment and attunement in your life, reach ikigai, getting paid for what you love, what the world needs, what you're good at, and then what you can be paid for. Ancient philosopher Aristotle had a great quote. He said, "Where your passions and people's needs meet, there lies your vocation." So what he did when it came to ikigai is he took these 2 and he said, if we pair them up, we are going to have ikigai. Now, the 2 things he didn't talk about was mission and profession. Remember something that Aristotle's mentor Plato once said. He said, philosopher kings rule the world. The point behind that is our own personal philosophies rule our world. I thought when I started my own business, for example, I thought, I'm master of my own domain. I could do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want. No one's going to tell me what to do anymore. What I found was I had more leaders when I left corporate America to start my own business than before. And here's why. Because usually in corporate America, I had one boss and I had to follow their philosophy. But what I found was when I was my own leader and I had to build my own organization, there were many, 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 many philosophies I had to follow in order to be successful. What's my point? My point is, our philosophy about our profession will determine whether or not that is a mission for you or just a way to get paid. Most organizations, for-profit organizations especially, they don't look at their profession as a mission. They look at it as a way to get paid. I got to do what I got to do to pay the bills. As long as I'm getting paid, I'm okay. The fact of the matter is, if you will flip your perspective and you will look at the impact that you make through your profession, and you will begin to look at your profession as a mission, you can truly come into alignment with your reason for being. The times that we focus more on money, which is material, external, we become selfish and self-centered. Money is a byproduct of serving people well. It is a byproduct of taking care of the needs of mankind. If you're in a profession that hurts mankind, you cannot have ikigai. Human traffickers cannot reach ikigai. Drug dealers cannot reach ikigai. But if you're in a profession that helps mankind, you can reach it. But that is a matter of perspective. And what you'll find is, if you find the mission, look what happens. You see the crossover here. Mission and passion are in parallel. To cross over to vocation, you have got to see, you've got to find the passion within your vocation. In coaching, we do this all the time. What are your strengths? What do you love about what you do? We're asking questions all the time to get people narrowed down. Well, you know what I really love is I really love getting out and meeting with people. Well, how often are you doing that? Well, as we look at my calendar, probably about 20% of the time. What are you doing the rest of the time? Well, my head's in emails and I'm solving problems, blah, blah, blah. Well, is there anyone else on your team who can help you with that? Well, yeah, is there anyone else who loves that within your organization, who loves solving those little problems and handling those emails and dealing with these issues? Well, yeah. Is there a way that 70% of the time we could get you out meeting with people? What happens when you get out and meet with people? Oh my goodness, we get more business. Seems like the organization runs better. So if we could change your schedule to get you out 70% of the time, meeting with people, doing what you're passionate about, is that going to help or hurt the business? It's going to help the business. Okay, let's change your schedule. You know what happens? It's real simple. People become more passionate, the business grows. The organization grows. Because where people's passions and people's needs meet, there lies your vocation. But most people don't take good enough care about themselves. They don't have anybody asking them these questions and challenging them. And so they get into the metaphoric conveyor belt of life, the treadmill of life, and they're doing the same things over and over and over and over again and reach insanity, which is doing the same things over and over again and expecting different results. This year's my year. I'm not going to do anything different, but this year's my year. No, it isn't your year. You're going to be on the treadmill again. So the idea is work 70% of your days as a leader, 70% of your days, what you love and where people's needs meet. The other 25% of that, the 25%, and then I'll add the 5 here in a second, so don't worry. 25% of that is increasing your skills in what you're great at, getting better. How do you become a nuclear force? Is you take your strengths and you make them better. Hey, LeBron, go play polo, horse polo. No, please keep playing basketball. Don't go play polo. What are you doing? Michael Jordan, don't go play baseball. Play basketball. Keep increasing your skills in basketball. And you know what happens? These two generational talents focusing on what they're great at inspires people. The same is true for you. People don't look at themselves with that same kind of care. There's a lot of judgment. There's a lot of fear. There's a lot of doubt. There's a lot of worry. But this is why self-awareness is so important. This is why Ikigai is so important. This is why the challenge, every day, challenging yourself, what you love, what you're good at, what the world needs, what you can be paid for is so important. Because it's so easy when you get busy. Every business, every leader has this happen. Okay? With growth comes more responsibilities. Comes, how do I deal with all these responsibilities? I'll just do it myself. I'll pick myself up by my bootstraps, I'll get it done. What you're doing is you're creating habitual patterns that you will repeat, unbeknownst, because you're just getting it done. So the pattern has to be, I will do this for X amount of period, but I'm going to work myself out of this as quick as possible. I'm going to do it just because we have to for this short period, but I'm working myself out. And you got to be fussy britches with yourself about making sure you stay in your strength zones. If I hire somebody for a specific position and they start doing something that is not in their position, what do you think I would do? Let's go ahead and move you back. Do you do that with yourself? To develop the leader within you, you've got to be able to be self-aware enough and fussy enough to do that with yourself and value yourself enough to keep yourself in that strength zone. But I'm telling you, one of the challenges with self-awareness and self-accountability is when your light scares you. When you say, oh my gosh, I've been through lots of internal work. And I have a therapist, and my therapist always asks me this. He says, how good can you stand it, Michael? That's a really tough question. How good can you stand it? How good can you stand it? It's a challenging question. And the point is this. When things get really good, and I dig down and I see how good things are, do I really believe I'm worth all this? Or am I going to self-sabotage and go off the rails because I truly, deep down, don't believe I'm worth all this? That's the place you find what Jordan Peterson says, the monster inside, is where all of us have this monster inside that is going to constantly try to tell you you're not worth it. And the deeper you go, the bigger it seems to get. You must treat yourself with the same dignity, honor, respect, and value that you would a team member who isn't working in their strengths, that you would say as a leader, no, 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 let's get you back to what you're great at. You've got to be able to do that for yourself.